Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Uh, Thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to share my latest research with this international conference, Gender, Power, and Technology, addressing violence and intersectionality in the digital age. And especially Dr. Kumud Sumeda, who invited me to make some contribution to your marvelous, interesting conference. And we can exchange our two countries' historical and genealogical as well as the present scenario in this context. I'm really happy to engage with most of your research, and we need your help as a country to develop these scales of disciplines as well as the ground level changes. So today my research paper and the presentation for this international conference is originally based on my doctoral study, which is carried on recently in the United Kingdom in Newcastle University under Professor Chris Haywood and Gareth Longstaff. So my topic is super masculine hyperbolic image in fake Facebook profiles. The rural young men's realization of same-sex desires and heteronormative hegemonic masculinity. So I am a senior lecturer in the Department of Mass Communication, University of Kelaniya, a Faculty of Social Sciences, Sri Lanka. We invite you to come with our latest research. And the next year or so, we are going to make another international conference on masculinity studies. So what is this research? So I'm going to introduce what I'm going to do before you in this international conference. So young men use fake Facebook profiles with hypermasculine images is my key theme. So this study explores why rural young men construct such identities online. I mean the fake face profiles. In the broader part of my thesis, doctoral thesis, concentrated on digital public relations. So my laboratory was the same sexual intimacies. That is how it is happen in the virtual space, in a digital network, social media context. So in a prehistorical as well as colonial, feudal, administrative, cultural, religious background, while the digital media is expanding mushroomingly over the space and intruding into the physical spaces, how people enjoy their broad intimacies is the fact. In this paper, my research focus is the relationship between same-sex desires, heteronormative ideals, and hegemonic masculinity. So my research is a qualitative inductive design, and theoretically it is use constructive ontology to see that the researcher believe that the knowledge is a constructive, manipulative things, while I'm doing interpret my data through thematical analysis as being the epistemology in my research. So the methodology is qualitative research. In this research, 20 participants and in-depth interviews from 10 participants and online ethnography Facebook observations. So this one other chapter based on my doctoral thesis, not the entire thesis. So the key concepts, what I'm telling before you is very interesting in this research, that supermasculine hyperbolic image overemphasize masculinity in online self-presentations. So the why people create fake profiles to establish their same-sex intimacies interplays with why they want this space and whether these fake profiles reflect their fake values or norms or their real actual sexual romantic ambitions. So the hegemonic masculinity is a type that we understood that the way how people depict their portrayals, maybe their photos, either through cartoons or whatever it is, why people use that kind of a hegemonic masculinity images. So the dominant societal norms reinforcing male superiority. For an example, in the masculinity, Raven Connell argued that the male struggling to be a real man the Sri Lankan literature, Professor Nelupa argued that this real man concept is a socio-cultural construction because of the northeastern war during Sri Lanka, which has happened nearly 30 years or so, that the young men are requested and required to perform heroically in the northeastern war, despite their religious, ethnic background, Tamil, Muslims, Sinhalese. Heteronormativity as a concept which says that how social expectations of heterosexuality as the norm. The heteronormativity has been the dominant hegemonic cultural layer on which people has to construct both virtual and physical identities that they are searching for and seeking same-sexual relationship. So the why Facebook profiles is that digital personas used to explore identity and desires. That Facebook profiles, such as fake, means that they want to clandestinely do as how they have been doing their intimacies in their physical stages using clandestine spaces as bushes, lanes, secret lane, dilapidated cinema halls, and secret dark times and all those things. But when it comes to the social media like Facebook, the Shaka McGlotton, a New York media anthropologist, argued that this fake profile reflects the human's true actual desires, though they are fake. Then why the fake profiles? In order to escape from the cultural, religious, political restriction and discriminations. So the finding of my paper gives that a very interesting idea that construction of hyper-masculine identities is the fact. Though they use fake profiles or the virtual space despite their physical space or so, or whether instead they are using their own photos or identities. Why hypermasculine identities? The physical emphasized display of extreme masculine traits as muscle, aggression, confidence. So this gives a chance that though whether they are not apt to their society, which asks them to do as a real men, which compatible to the heterosexual family, that they are requested to produce kid for, and they are requested to sex or romance with heterosexual partners, men and women, as requested by their culture, society, in terms of maintain the reproductive familial values. So self-presentation through such kind of a hegemonic masculine identities is compatible with why people do this so. Because in order to self-defense, that whether they are self-homophobic and shame and fear threats can be tolerated by showing others that even though we are not compatible with the heterosexuality, though we are really interested in the same sexual, we are real man. That what shows society requests from us compatible with the heteronormative, heterosexual, political, cultural values. So using dominant male imagery to appear is that the real man. So that kind of a real man is reflected to why they use hypermasculine identities. So digital performance is very interesting, that identity association through edited photos. It's not their real one. Maybe from out of some of the celebrities from South Asia, neither South Asia nor other globe, whatever they want is that hyperbolic, exaggerative, and flamboyant image. So these edited photos are exaggerated bios and curated photos. Not only the photos, but also the animated, creative, digitalized, artificial intelligent photos are there in order to show that they are compatible with that the socially requested real man. So you will see this kind of photos are very flamboyant, cute, handsome, and illuminating, that young men are struggling to portray that they have six-pack, V-shapes, very marvelous means. This compatibles that through the historical eras, Ajanta Ellora as well as other the Hindus and Buddhist statues reflect also this masculine, hegemonic masculine portrait. That I argue in my this in a broader scale that this is not peculiarly a constructions of a digitalized virtual phenomena as popularly domain through that these are coming from the Western world. But I argue in my thesis and this research that this has some implications for arguing to that this has reflected for South Asian the way of religious political institutes have been constructed male image as it is. So this has some combine and relationships and intersections with the virtuality and the physicality. So this picture shows that young men always want to show the valor, rigor, and male prowess before the audience. So they always use their hands, their chest, their stomach, not only for the sexual, but also the pleasure and beauty of who are men and what are men, even though they use fake profiles in order to get non-heterosexual partner. So in addition to that, these men, you will see always they are mentally and psychologically fit, because mentally fit in public even they can't do that in Sri Lankan context. They saw in the virtuality that they are male going to kiss like male and woman, so they don't see any difference. At the same time, they are physically fit and they are handsome and they are like celebrity models. So the finding gives another chance to argue that social and cultural influences are how interconnected. So heteronormative patriarchy is another concept that reinforces traditional masculinity in South Asian context. So heteronormativity has been seen not only on the virtual portrayals, but also in the physical temples, political statues, and all those things, as far as they are requested by the social institutes such as education, religion, politics, culture, values, and all that. Societal homophobia leads to secret online spaces. So I argue why people use fake profiles. It is because of the homophobia means that irrational fear and shame. Irrational fear and shame. So that leads to secret online spaces for expressing same-sex desires. Rural cultural pressures, that mean from the rural culture, it is so heteronormative. They are requested to get married and make relationship with their counterpartners, heterosexual, and properly maintain their reproductive sex and breed kids and conduct their familial conventional ethics and rules. So expectation of hypermasculinity is in male identity is a compatibility and intersections of why they are and how they are socially constructed in their Sri Lankan cultural genealogy. So contradiction and identity struggles is another theme that this thesis found. So men using hypermasculine images to validate their maleness. You see that while they are irrationally homophobic, irrationally feared and shamed because of their self-constructed, that they are doing inconsistent, indecent, discriminative sex and romances, as still Sri Lanka followed the colonial early British 1865 police law and 1883 penal code, which says that same sexual activities are culturally, socially, and legally inconsistent, and therefore it is indecent and immoral. So why people use hypermasculine image, I argue that they are depicting that maleness, yet they are not incongruent with heteronormative heterosexual demands. So the fear of exposure leads to strategic digital identity manipulation. Fear of exposure leads to strategically create who they are, not only using other celebrity icons images or other young men's photos. They use some cartoons and other pictures and other most updated technology as AI to construct who are men and men's ability, men's valor, and men's prowessness at their relationships. So this has some paradox. What is that? Reinforcing masculinity norms while secretly resisting them. This is the real dilemma, that you see that this bipolar ethics is there. Why people hegemonically, toxically are representing the virtual space, reinforcing masculinity norms while secretly resisting them. So while they want to appear what they are requested by the society as who the real man branding. But on the other hand, they themselves are irrationally struggle, irrationally appeared, irrationally ashamed of what they are doing. This is a cultural, social ramification and repercussions that I'm arguing through this research. So the limitation and the future research of my research is the need for great acceptance of diverse masculinity is essential. We have to consider these things, diverse masculinities. Even the Western or other area have a masculinity. What the researchers like Osella and Osella argue through the South Asian masculinity, it's a variety of masculinities, masculinities. We can't define it and consolidate it to one coherent all. Further research into authentic Facebook profiles and their role in same-sex digital connections. So the further research are requested into authentic face, what people do through their authentic. This research concluded and finding that most of the digital Z generation, so alpha generation people they don't have such kind of fear relatively with other people. They sometimes through their real portrayal, real pictures, openly through their authentic profiles, they are telling who they are, not only the men, but also the young women or other people. Class. Intersectionality is very essential. So how class, caste, and rural-urban divide and virtual and physical, the connections affect with digital masculinity. This has some idea to argue and later explore what is digital masculinity when it comes to the communication networking and the way how people are connected through the digital space and how they make their trust, rapport, and confidence are requested and implied through this research as the digital publication theoretical underpinning. This has given a much importance that these kind of intimacies are creating non-corporate form of public relations that recently Zizek and all the new public relation theories argue through that it's not the public relation within the corporate monetary institutes, but the non-corporate levels such as virtual space, religious schools, educations, and non-business, government organizational bodies use this for real world social change and activism. So the conclusions of my research is that online masculinity is a performative. It's a performative as to some extent Rowan Cornell and Judith Butler argue that it's a performative, constructive refiguration. A blend of dominance and secrecy is there in the online masculinity as being it's so performative. A blend of dominance and secrecy. The second one is fake profiles. Fake profiles allow young men to explore desires while upholding traditional norms. This why they are so hegemonic, masculine, even though they use the fake profile, tells that unconsciously they are playing, they are enthralling, they are satisfied. They don't want to question or argue or eradicate from these colonial or historical or genealogical cultural formations. Finally, the social norms and digital identities interact. The social norms and digital identities are interact. That's what this research concludes. Even though it is virtual, even though it is AI, or whatever the most modern futuristic mode of communications or space, the traditional cultural facets and values and norms of the Homo sapiens are still played and performed in whatever space is very interesting. And shaping expressions of masculinity in post-colonial South Asian culture has this, the social norms and digital identities are intersect, and interconnected. So thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to once again on behalf of the organizing committee and Dr. Kumud Sumeda and Sudasna, who invited me to give some latest research findings in your international conference. I may request and waiting your comments and your responded through my email and whatever you can. I am Dr. Manoj Jinadasa. I stay in all social media, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, through Facebook, and everywhere. We hope we will do a better future and we can contribute our theoretical contribution to real world global South change. Thank you very much. Goodbye.